Hello, and welcome back to the final section of Three More Words by Ashley Rhodes-Courter. If you've been here since the beginning of this one, thank you so much for coming along for this read. If you're just joining us for the first time, hi, I'm Julie. I read books over here, and you've caught us at the final section of this book. So if you're looking to start it, you can go back 9 or 10 videos and start from the beginning. I'll try to make a playlist as well. And definitely, if you haven't read her first book, Three Little Words, I would recommend checking that out on my channel as well. I recorded that in the spring and summer, I think, of 2021. So you might have to dig a little bit, but you'll find it. So yeah, we're gonna finish up this book here, but right off the top, I do like to announce our next read during the final section. So just gonna pop my bookmark back in there, and I will pull out our next read. Drum roll. It is The Housemaid by Freida McFadden. And I just happened to pick this up in a thrift store on the Upper East Side the other day, and it just kind of stood out to me. It seems to be a mystery. It's fiction again, so nice to kind of go between fiction and nonfiction. Since this one was a nonfiction, Three More Words, we're gonna be back to a fiction read, so hope that you will join me for that one. But for today, let's jump in. We're on page 275 at the page break, and we're in the middle of chapter 18. Let's get going. After the Oliver boys left, we decided that we wanted time to enjoy both Skylar and Ethan without too many children coming and going. We told Maya that we would not accept any long-term placements for the time being. I know there is still a huge need for respite homes, I said. We would be happy to help out for short periods. We had used respite for family trips or when I was going somewhere interesting for a speech, and Eric was able to accompany me. Some families have foster children who are so challenging that their foster parents need a breather to reset. We didn't expect Maya to call so soon with a favor. Millie is 8, she began, and her current foster home is closing. I've met Millie, I said, recalling a girl with lustrous black hair who tried to hide her missing teeth by smiling behind her hand. Foster parents serving this small agency knew one another well since we regularly came together for trainings and activities. We'd be happy to have her, I said, because something about her had already touched my heart. This should only be for a very short time, Maya admitted. She is supposed to be free for adoption soon, and we have identified an adoptive family for her. I'm a good helper, Millie said when I showed her around our home. I clean too. Just tell me what to do. That's great, I said, but here we all help each other. I remembered back more than 15 years ago trying to sell myself to a new foster parent, hoping this would be the one who would keep me. Millie reminded me of myself in many ways, most poignantly because she too had buried her fears and sadness and was trying so hard to make a good first impression. Millie was patient while I tended the younger children who were demanding food or a diaper change. To keep her from being bored, I bought her some jewelry making kits she could work on, and she used her little rubber bands to make everyone in the house their own bracelets. She loved crafts, dressing up, nail polish, and the same girly activities I had enjoyed. After so many little men in my life, I loved doting on her. Just like me, she had very definite food preferences. I understood her need to control as much as she could and allowed her to pick menus that she would enjoy. Often people are reluctant to foster older children, but they can sometimes be more satisfying than uncommunicative little ones. One night, I went to tuck Millie in. Without prompting, she had taken my book, Three Little Words, to bed and had fallen asleep reading it. Eric tiptoed in and snapped a picture. I stood there a while longer. It was surreal to think that this was my foster daughter and realize how far my life had come. I wondered whether she was able to imagine a happy ending for her own story. After the first week, she said, I wish you could adopt me. My heart melted. It's complicated, I began with a sigh. I remembered kids at the children's home asking virtual strangers to adopt them. We just wanted a family, any family. That's not the plan, sweetheart, I said. You're going to a wonderful couple in a few days. 2 months later, we learned that just after she left our home, the goals in Millie's case had changed. Because of this, her pre-adoptive parents had not been permitted to keep her. After that, the veil of confidentiality descended over Millie, and we had no idea where she was. The secrecy that surrounds the children in the system is supposed to protect them, as if there were a way to shield them from their pasts. As I know all too well, the memories cannot be erased. They course through our bodies like blood. They are always there, and not so far from the surface. I envy children whose recollections are all positive and delightful, and I empathize with those, like me, who had a rougher go. No matter how much happiness I have, and I now have more than my fair share, my own past is a part of my present and will be a part of my future. One of my goals as a foster parent has been to add a layer of joyful times in a child's life while trying to minimize their stress. While we can't escape or erase the past hurts of these children experience, we can fill them with positive experiences in a loving home and maybe even give them some hope. Still, Eric and I have continued to worry about the children who left our home and were returned to what we believed were unsafe conditions. I expected Millie would be one of the lucky ones like me who would find loving parents eager to give her what she needed. This is how Millie's story was supposed to end in this book, on a positive note, remembering a child who had every potential and might still do well despite her early struggles. This was not what happened. I have had to edit this chapter at the last minute and will live with so many regrets and questions for the rest of my days. This is why. Just over a year after Millie was with us, I was sent a link to a newspaper article and scanned the headline. Some guy went crazy and killed his disabled mother, I said to Eric, and then went after his young nieces. Eric shook his head. Sadly, these headlines are not uncommon in Florida. A few weeks before, a father flipped out and threw his 5-year-old daughter, Phoebe Johnchuk, off a bridge approaching the Sunshine Parkway in St. Petersburg. It was revealed that Phoebe's death could have been prevented because several people had called the state abuse hotline, warning that the father was unstable and a danger to his young daughter. But the workers at the hotline screened the calls and deemed there was no reason to investigate further. I gasped as I read the article further. Oh no! An icy wave passed from me to Eric. Our worst nightmare as foster parents was coming true. It's Millie, I cried out. Is she gonna be okay? He asked, his eyes instantly welling with tears. They just said that she's in critical condition. I picked up the phone, called the agency, and reminded them that we had fostered Millie. We could take her again, I said first thing. They said they would consider us if she survived. A few hours later, the television news reported that Millie had died from her extensive injuries. There are no words, I sobbed to Eric. The gruesome details unraveled over the next few days. Their uncle, a diagnosed schizophrenic who lived in the home, had first murdered Millie's grandmother, a wheelchair-bound double amputee with severe medical issues. While Millie's aging grandfather was in the shower, her uncle used the same tire iron to brutalize Millie and her younger sister. 2 other children were spared when the grandfather stopped the massacre. The younger sister survived. I can't believe they were placed back with those grandparents. Weren't we told there was no suitable family? Eric said. The kids were removed from that home in the first place, I shouted. Their agency probably sent them to relatives just to get them off the books and make their numbers look better, Eric seethed. My grief galvanized me. I clicked on Facebook and eulogized Millie. I found some of my favorite photos of her on my computer, and I posted them to show the healthy, joyful child whose ending was violent, painful, and senseless. We were quickly warned by foster care officials not to publicly speak about Millie and to take down her photo. I don't know what to do, I said to Eric. The lead agency and the Department of Children and Families are going to try and discredit us and find a way to spin this so they're not at fault. We know the professionals had good reason to oppose placement with the grandparents and stated so in court, Eric said, pacing back and forth in the living room. I went upstairs to put Ethan's laundry away, but felt as if I were walking through molasses. I sat on our bed with tears streaming. Then I remembered a drawing on our refrigerator. Running downstairs, I pulled down the picture decorated with hearts. Our names, Eric and Ashley, were written on the back. It was signed from Millie. Pain flooded through me as I thought of her grin when we found the art that she taped to the refrigerator as a surprise for us. And I knew that in an instant that if we didn't speak up for her, they would bury her story along with her body. My attorney reminded me that I did not give up my First Amendment rights when I became a foster parent, and that once a child dies, the confidentiality rules change. A week after Millie's death, the agency opened her files to the press and the public and issued a formal statement saying, after assessing all the documents in the case file, we've come to the conclusion there were no indications that we could prevent this type of thing from happening with this family. How can anyone believe that? I asked Eric. We can read page after page of red flags, objections by professionals, and details about the many serious issues this family has. Millie's brief life may be over, but I am determined her story will live on. In Florida, a critical incident rapid response team is convened to study the evidence and make a timely report that supposedly will lead to changes. Unfortunately, the examination is done by the Department of Children and Families, which may not do the most impartial investigation. However, according to the state, Millie's case and dozens of other recent child deaths does not meet the narrow criteria for further investigation. My website, rose-courter.com, will include updates on her case, and even though her name here is fictitious, it will be easy to find the real story and links to press coverage. There was a time when I thought I always had to be wary because nothing was as it seemed. Millie's story thrust me back into that dark corner. Lorraine was supposed to protect me, but she was never there to pull me out of the swamp that threatened to suck me in. Charming foster mothers could turn into vicious monsters after the caseworker dropped me off. Gay and Phil slowly introduced me to the L word with brief love yous at bedtime or at the end of phone calls. Eric had told me he loved me years before I could admit even a minuscule affection for him. Years! Would any other man been as patient? In the end, I discovered that to love him, I had to learn to love myself. Together, we both parented Millie, and together we will grieve and find a way to make her life count for something. I'm a passionate person. I throw myself into projects, whether it is graduate school, running for election, or getting a service for one of my children. I thrive accomplishing things for others. Yet I cannot take sole credit for my own happiness. To my great fortune, many people have prevented me from falling into the abyss of loneliness and despair. A few wise counselors at the children's home helped me see my potential and showed me how much they cared. My guardian at Lytton, Mary Miller, worked diligently to free me for adoption. Then Gay and Phil took an enormous risk by adopting a surly preteen who behaved abominably and acted ungrateful. I laughed about it because I have fostered so many kids who have given me more than a taste of my own medicine. The Courters also showed me something even more meaningful, the example of their own marriage. They never shout, there is rarely anger, and problems are discussed openly and fairly. Their mutual respect and cooperation allowed us to have remarkable family adventures. Phil is my model for the nurturing man. He made me feel safe coming to him with my conflicted feelings and quietly counseled me. Gay and I collided, probably because we are more alike than we admit. I can see how my marriage mirrors that of my parents. I tend to be strong-willed and detail-oriented planner. Like Phil, Eric is more mellow, supportive, empathetic, and funny. He knows when to step back and wait until I calm down. I had dated enough boisterous, selfish guys who were focused on money, possessions, power, and success to know that I clashed with these types, yet I thought they were the sort that others would approve of. Eventually, I got over the notion of whom I should be attracted to or should be dating and looked to what made me feel safe and happy. And there was Eric, who provided a lifeline whenever I felt I was being swept into a stormy sea. From the moment I walked into their home, my parents have been there. If they are not directly helping me by building new garage doors, Phil, or advising me about my taxes, Gay, they are the stars I steer by as I chart my own course. When I was putting myself through grad school, I remembered how Gay taught me about financial aid and grants during my undergraduate studies. She helped me balance my first checkbook, showed me how to budget money and buy a car, and also gave me a business-like voice that stands me in good stead when I work on my own projects. The Courters also instilled a sense of civic responsibility in me. Gay has been a guardian for more than 25 years, and Phil has been influential on state and local welfare boards. Eric also feels a moral and philanthropic duty to the community. We did not go into fostering to adopt a child, but to give back to children when they are at the most stressful moment in their lives. Every parent is always learning. Eric and I have come a long way together. We are a polished team and know how to soothe lonely babies, love them while they are ours, kiss their heart hurts, cuddle and rock them, keep them clean and fresh, help them fall asleep gently, bolster them with good nutrition, get them up to speed developmentally, find them the best services and educational programs, and then let them go with grace. They arrive half naked and filthy, bruised and sad. They bring with them tragic revelations of how twisted and cruel people can be to those they should be treating the most lovingly. They depart with suitcases of toys and clothes, clean and healthy. Yes, it hurt when Albert left. Eric and I comforted each other. It worried us even more when we heard Lillian and her brothers were back with their mother, who had let perverts prey on them. We are angered by Florida's policies that still endanger children. A recent expose of Florida's child welfare system by the Miami Herald showed that in the last 6 years, 535 children whose parents or caregivers had a history with the Department of Children and Families died from abuse. Yes, more than 500 children who supposedly were under the state's watchful eye. As we follow Millie's story and the details behind other similar headlines, we are learning that this number is likely much higher. And now one of our foster children will be a part of that count. But Millie and all these children deserved so much more. While the majority of our kids were placed with competent relatives, several went back to dangerous situations that there didn't seem to be a point to the original removal. Plus, that number of deaths is the tip of the iceberg. It takes a lot to murder a child. For everyone that is killed, there may be dozens or hundreds who are tortured, sexually abused, beaten, or starved. Many other cases will never be reported. Even more are already a part of the system with no action being taken, and there are so many potential outcomes in each situation. If Skylar's grandmother had arrived on time, he might never have been injured. If she had come later, he would have died. If Tiffany had wanted to be less cooperative, she could have insisted on Marla being the one to take Skylar, even though Marla was a non-relative Skylar had never met. Even if all the hurt children were removed from their violent families, there aren't enough decent foster homes. While we are connected in a network of exceptional parents and volunteers who inspire us to keep serving, we've dealt with many other foster parents who do not have the same standards of cleanliness, community service, or nutrition that we do. 2 respite siblings came to us with lice and a bag of clothes and supplies saturated with cigarette smoke, something we expect from a removal, but not a licensed foster home. Other foster parents relied on the schools to provide most of the children's food. The funds that subsidize foster children are meant to support the children, not be the salaries for the parents. Since all foster children are severely upset by their situation, every home should have therapeutic training, and all children should have access to counseling, not just a lucky few. In Florida and other parts of the country, the money-saving trick of avoiding removals or reunifying prematurely puts children's lives at risk. After a report of abuse, some parents defer the complicated court process by signing a safety plan, which is nothing more than a promise not to be violent or neglectful or to use drugs in front of the children. While I know the local laws and statistics best, the problem is endemic nationwide. This misguided penny pinching has resulted in tragic consequences through the child welfare system. When I was a foster child, biological parents were not given the services and resources they needed to take care of their own children, and kids were removed for the smallest of slights. Today, the pendulum has swung too far in the other direction, and it has resulted in many avoidable tragedies like Millie's murder. When dedicated workers and professionals come together, the system can help struggling families and save children. There are countless policies and laws in place that expedite case plans, allow for prosecution of offenders, and even punish those who do not report abuse. Many of these rules are ignored. Had we not been diligent, many of our kids would have had no other advocate. When we were frustrated, Eric and I reminded ourselves that we were doing this for the children who can't comprehend bureaucracy. Children do understand a gentle smile, a soothing hug, a full belly, and a cozy bed. We look at Skylar every day and think of what could have been. He lights up with every kind word, funny noise, or any offer to play with him. He gobbles delicious food, sleeps in a clean bed, hugs his little brothers and his pets, and is adored by his loving parents. He is as safe as any child anywhere in the world, and we will do anything to make sure he has a happy, healthy life. People are always asking us how we dare foster. We couldn't fall in love with a child and then let them go, they say. Yes, you could, if it were best for the child, we reply. In the meantime, you can enjoy their growth and mastery. A teacher who has a class for a year is able to let her students go, knowing she contributed as much as she could during that time. Our friend Beth said it best. We're the adults in the situation, and these children deserve to have someone who cares enough to cry for them when they leave. I try to inspire people to contribute what they can, primarily their time and skills. Fostering is a serious commitment, yet so many more foster families are needed. Being a guardian ad litem or CASA volunteer is a powerful way to contribute and influence a child's case in court. Without Bennett's advocacy, Skylar might not have had such a secure outcome. There are many other opportunities to donate and mentor. Many groups that serve children are nonprofits that rely on donations, grants, and volunteers. Adoption can save a child's life. There are more than 100,000 American children of all ages and backgrounds who already have had their parental rights terminated, and they're waiting for forever families. Some are the age I was when the Courters took a chance on me, and a good number are older. Tragically, over 20,000 youths leave the foster care system or age out every year. They don't have someone like Phil to call when they have a flat tire, or Gay to ask a cooking question. 2 weeks after we finalized Skylar's adoption, I was on the road for a multi-city speaking engagement. My body ached, and I couldn't hold down any food. When I got home, I went to the doctor, assuming I had picked up a stomach bug. Much to my surprise, the doctor came back with a different diagnosis. I called Eric from the parking lot. I know we said we weren't going to take any long-term placements for a while. Are we getting another kid? Sort of. we can't take in someone tonight with you feeling so sick. I think we have a little bit of time before this one arrives." After a long pause, he put the pieces together and we both laughed. I no longer question the meaning of life or wonder whether I am happy. I've been hungry enough times without any ability to get more food that I am grateful for plenitude. I have known what it is like to believe that nobody will ever adore me, and now I am thankful for all the affection in my life. I would be bereft without those who offer me unwavering understanding, encouraging compliments, and both honest and critical love. Being loved and allowing myself to feel it finally empowered me to learn to trust. The next step was the hardest. It took me 2 decades to learn to freely reciprocate and utter the words. There is no more guessing. The 3 more words are, I love you. I love you, Ethan and Skylar. I love you, Eric. I love you, Gay and Phil. I love you, Josh and Julia, Blake and Amber. I love you, Sharon and Rob and Jasper and Penelope. I love you, Lorraine, because we can't escape our past, and Autumn, because you are part of my future. And I love you, Luke, unconditionally, and I hope someday you can find some peace in this world. Though it seems like we've only just met, I have loved you, Andrew Lewis Smith, since I could feel your kicks and somersaults under my heart. You will be loved forever, I promise. That's the end of chapter 18. Now on to chapter 19, the postscript on page 289. Another siren coming. It is better to conquer yourself than to win 1,000 battles. Buddha. Lorraine and Autumn have had some rocky times during Autumn's early teen years. My half-sister has tried living with our Aunt Leanne in South Carolina, but lasted only a few weeks. After an altercation with her mother, Autumn claimed she was being abused. I talked to the investigator, who didn't feel the report was substantiated. They seem to have a roller coaster of a relationship, worse than I had with Gay as a teen. I see small updates on social media that paint a picture-perfect situation. I recently read that Autumn made the cheer squad and is doing well in her school. Hopefully Lorraine is still sober, and the two will emerge from this phase stronger and closer than ever because, as I have learned, a girl needs a mom forever. Luke is back in jail due to his latest felony charge. I fear that one day he'll end up in prison for a long time. We ran into Albert's old caseworker almost 2 years after Albert left and asked if she had heard anything about him. "Oh, I see him all the time at a daycare I visit for another one of my cases. He's doing so well," she said, trying to placate me. His father should have started him in elementary school by now. Lance is doing wonderfully with his aunt in Maryland. Lillian and her brothers are back with their mother. I worry about them every day. Micah and Zachariah are living happily with their adoptive family in Oregon. Tiffany left Florida and had a baby girl, but left the baby's father and went to live with relatives in another state. She eventually returned to Florida to live with Lamar's mother, even though she had become pregnant with another man's child a few weeks after delivering her daughter. This is Tiffany's 4th pregnancy in 4 years. My own story and struggles continue to evolve and change. A large hiatal hernia appeared after my second and very difficult pregnancy. In order to repair it, the surgeon had to remove my lap band. This time there were no contest winnings to cover the cost of the procedure, and my insurance refused to reimburse me for what they deemed to be elective surgery. During the 4 years the lap band was in place, I became used to small, appropriate portions and learned to make wise, nutritious selections. I also applied those lessons to feeding my family a fresh, natural diet. I want my children to have healthier relationships with food and their bodies than I had. Chasing after these 3 young, energetic boys became part of a daily exercise routine. It wasn't easy, but I was able to lose over 50 pounds of baby weight without the band in place. I know I will continue to grapple with my food addiction and temptation, but I have proven to myself that I can take control of this issue for myself and my young family. Eric and I started the Foundation for Sustainable Families as a way to combine our mutual interests and bridge service gaps in our community and globally. Our nonprofit will allow us to provide families access to everything from family therapy, parenting and breastfeeding classes, early childhood education and nutrition, to foster and adoption resources, and even their own organic gardens. And then a website, sustainablefamiliesfoundation.org. And we'll take a little note to the reader here, page 292, and then there's some pictures in the back, so we'll see those at the end. Note to the reader. My first memoir, 3 Little Words, chronicled my life as a foster child up until my graduation from high school. After spending almost 10 years in state care, I had few expectations for my future. I never believed that I was destined to be happy. Today, child welfare, foster care, and adoption issues have become the cornerstone of my professional and personal life. As an adult, I felt a strong pull to be part of the very system that had failed me, and I was determined to prevent other children from being exposed to my miserable experiences. As a motivational speaker, I promote organizations that strive to protect children, and I thank parents, volunteers, and professionals who work tirelessly for the same goals. Once, I was called a troublemaker and was removed from my foster home for exposing their cruel abuse. Not only am I still causing trouble, but my voice is finally being heard. There is so much more to be said and done, and this book is part of my effort. There was a little typo. I graduated college, received a master's degree in social work, and also became a guardian ad litem, or CASA, C-A-S-A, volunteer advocating for children in court, just as someone had done for me and changed my life. Along the way, I've also become a wife, a foster parent, an adoptive parent, and a biological mother. Nationally, I am exposed to service providers, social workers, agencies, and groups who use best practices to transform the system to benefit children and families. Today's innovative laws and policies could have helped reunite me with my family and prevented years of heartache. Yet the same misguided case management that damaged me has endangered many of our foster children, and as a result, one of them was killed. There is a bizarre disconnect between my professional advocacy and my role as a foster parent. While many audiences have been inspired by my speeches, at home, my expertise was often completely ignored, or I was bullied by the very workers, professionals, and even other foster parents I spent my career defending and supporting. Now we are being chastised by our agency for eulogizing Millie and speaking up on behalf of her and other children who have lost their lives under preventable circumstances. Our agency tried to have us sign new documents that accused us of breaking the law, outlined our media involvement, and would have acted as a gag order. We chose to give back our foster license to the state rather than have it revoked, which would have had a negative impact on our future plans to foster or adopt. I wish this book was more of an homage to the exceptional parents and providers who positively changed the lives of children and families. However, I can only tell the story we lived. While some of the people are composites and certain names and situations have been changed to protect identities, every incident detailed in this book happened. Aside from the Courter and Smith families, almost all names and identifying characteristics of the youth and adults have been changed. Children do not end up in foster care for insignificant reasons, so the specifics about their abuse might be difficult to read. It's even harder to comprehend how people can be so brutal to the little ones who depend on them. I hope my readers will be inspired to take action. We need so many more good foster parents, adoptive parents, volunteers, mentors, and community support to create positive change. Agencies need to be financially equipped to provide the best training and resources to their workers, and they must operate with child-centered practices. Powerful stakeholders, chiefly the legislators who control budgets and the judges who run our family courts, need to understand the daily sorrows and long-term costs of these tragic cases. No other child should have to live in deplorable foster homes. No other child should be returned to unsafe conditions. No more children have to die, especially those already under the watchful eye of a child welfare agency. Every child deserves a happy ending, like mine. And we've got some acknowledgments. I think I will read them. I might skip over some of the lists of names if there are some long ones, but otherwise I will read all the acknowledgments as well. Ashley, I don't know how you do it all, is something I hear all the time. I couldn't do any of it without the unwavering love and support of my husband, family, and loyal friends. I am thankful to still be so close to many friends, some who have traveled along long distances to be there when I needed assistance. A few went through an invasive background check to become official babysitters for our foster children. Others simply put up with my venting. There was a time in my life that my only relationship lasted a few months. It feels amazing to still have these people in my life after so long. Graduating from college shows that you have mastered the academic standards set forth by your school. It also means that you survived campus life, classes, clashes with professors, inspirational turning points, failed projects, exasperating group assignments, and life-changing discoveries about yourself and the world. I never could have navigated the waters of my seaside college without the patience, tough love, and forgiveness of my Eckerd friends and faculty, particularly in my early years, when I made classically stupid mistakes. So many Eckerd College faculty members and administrators influenced and steered my academic direction, but I want to specifically thank President Donald R. Eastman III, Dean James J. Anarelli, Assistant Dean Marty Newbold, and Professors Anthony Brunello, Cynthia Totten, Eric Hack, Jeff Howard, James Janik, Mark Davis, Julianne H. Emprick, and William Bill Felice. The University of Southern California allowed me to complete a graduate degree when my schedule and home life would have prevented me from succeeding in a traditional program. I am grateful for their pioneer work in virtual academics, which allowed me to connect with fellow social work students and professionals worldwide. During my MSW program, I was challenged, engaged, and stretched to my limits. I could not have asked for a stronger graduate experience. As I stepped into the world as a professional, I still needed much guidance and advice. Lou and Janellen Heckler have been invaluable mentors and supporters of my speaking career. Agents Joelle Del Borgo, Irene Webb, and Donna Budis have developed so many opportunities and had faith in me. Special thanks to Simon Schuster and my editor, Caitlin Delohy, for giving me the opportunity to inspire others again through my writing. I'm constantly motivated by the creative professionals who dedicate themselves to healing children in their schools, courtrooms, communities, and homes, especially the Honorable Karen Gievers, Andrea Moore, and Robin Rosenberg. I am grateful to the struggling youth and families who reach out and share their concerns and stories with me. Thousands of children turn 18 and age out of foster care each year and are expected to take on the world alone. Although I am in my late 20s, I need family more than ever. Both the Courter and Smith relatives surround us with the kind of love and support that we need to thrive as a family. Eric's team of family and friends has been welcoming and supportive since the beginning. His mother, Sharon, has a calm grace about her that puts everyone at ease. She can soothe the most frightened child, and our sons can't wait to crawl on her lap the minute they see her. Eric's dad, Rob, is always on hand to help with house repairs or babysit when we are in a bind. Nothing seems to rattle either of them, and they are literally just around the corner if we need them. Mostly, I want to thank them for raising such an incredible son for me to marry. I thought Gay and Phil took their role as my parents seriously, but then I saw them in grandparent mode. Because of them, I have always had a place to go home, someone to call for advice, guidance, reassurance, a father to walk me down the aisle, and a mother to hold my hand as I welcomed my first child into the world. Knowing they are in my life gives me the greatest sense of serenity. With Phil, Gay, Rob, and Sharon, our children will never be without love, security, and encouragement. Eric's nephew and niece, Austin and Brianna, who are two very special young people who are always quick to lend a hand, and they have been superb role models for our many children. Special thanks go to Aunt Robin and Uncle Josh Madden, both skilled pediatricians who have fielded many medical calls and texts and have always been there for us and our foster children with loving advice and support. During the fostering and adoption process, we've made lifelong friends and received help from dedicated professionals. Their stories and passions remind us what we're all fighting for. Our respect and admiration go to Nate and Caroline Wagner, Claudia and Mike Bachman, Graham and Becky Myers, Robin and Kyle Matthews, Tammy Curtis, Ashley Capps, Martha Cawthron, and Carrie and David Wilds. I must also thank the Pinellas County Foster and Adoptive Parent Association and fellow foster parent Mark Silver for the hilarious "I forgave her" line and other funny foster parent coping strategies and resources. Having support from other foster parents has been essential. I will always be grateful for many fine mentors, professionals, and workers, particularly Darlene, Averill, Kelly Brenner, Ron Anderson, Jesse Miller, Jillian DeMarco, Rebecca Day, Connie Going, Shannon Albert, Brandis Corvo, Terry Christensen, Elaine Hollingsworth, Desiree Crones, Lisa Jansen, and Laura Allen Segur. Many of them touched our lives, influenced our decisions, or positively affected the outcome for one of our kids. These and so many more, family, professionals, and friends, have been the real secret to our success and sanity. In some ways, recounting the last 10 years of my life has been more emotionally draining than reliving my childhood. Special thanks once again go to my mother, Gay Courter, for helping me to create cohesion and make sense of my endless notes, panicked phone calls, stories, accounts, memories, and impassioned ramblings both on and off the page. Additionally, I'd like to thank Phil Courter, Eric Smith, Sharon Smith, and Esther Mandel for their painstaking proofreading. I have a great relationship with my older brothers, Blake and Josh. Their wives, Amber and Julia, are some of the most creative and passionate women I know. It's an incredible feeling knowing that we will always be there for one another and that my children have such awesome aunts and uncles. A very special welcome also goes out to the littlest Courter, Josh, and Julia's newborn son, Zephyr. How exciting it is to be an aunt! Finally, I must expose the wizard behind the curtain, my brilliant husband, Eric. I have tested and pushed you way away so many times. Thank you for not giving up on me. We have spent the last 10 years growing together as individuals, friends, partners, and now parents. I hope our sons grow up with your integrity, honesty, patience, thoughtfulness, and commitment to all that is right and good with the world. You are my best friend and my #1 fan. You have given me everything I could have hoped for, even if it took me a while to realize what a treasure you are. Like my brand new baby Andrew, my story is growing and changing every day. I no longer fear the unexpected. I was once the motherless child, lost and alone. Now I know for certain that I always will have people in my life to help me with any hardship I may face. It is my wish that all children grow up to one day know such security, love, and happiness. And that is the end of the acknowledgements and everything. So I will show you some pictures. We've got me hugging my dolls while in foster care. And then on the bottom, I was very active as a child and played on the local softball team while living at a group home. So there with her dolls, playing softball. My adoptive parents took me on many amazing trips. This picture was taken at a festival in California. That's on top. And ever since I was a teen, I've been speaking about child welfare issues all over the world. Got her. All right. On stage at Eckerd College, I majored in theater and communications with minors in political science and psychology. And then on the bottom, graduation day at Eckerd College. I went on to earn my master's degree in social work at the University of Southern California. On stage, graduation. Eric and I spent a weekend with my biological family mudding in the Carolinas. They're all covered in mud. After college, my speaking calendar grew, as did I. This picture shows me at a heavy stage. Not sure you can really see. She wasn't that heavy. I mean, she can, she has her own opinions of her, person. Anyway, with Eric at our wedding, we had no idea how many waves our cruise and wedding would create. And then Albert, our foster son, loved his first visit to Disney World. The little ears. Eric with Dakota, one of our most frail foster children. And then on bottom, often we had children who were close in age, so here are two of our twins. Cute little babies. And they've blurred some of the faces just for the child's protection, I'm sure. Great. Our foster children, Lillian and Denver, playing piano. And on bottom, Skylar was 4 months old when he came into our foster home. He had been nearly killed by his father, and that is their son who they adopted. So they don't have to blur his face. He is theirs, forever home. All right. Friends and volunteers waved signs on street corners during my run for Florida State Senate. You'll see it says Ashley Rhodes-Courter. And then a photo of me and Eric drinking during my first pregnancy. Very nice couple. There's those political campaign signs. Right, a few more. We took our firstborn son, Ethan, 4 months, to a friend's wedding in St. Augustine, Florida. And then the bottom, brothers Micah and Zachariah heading to preschool. Those are the cute little boys who got adopted in Oregon. Me with our foster son, Zachariah. And then a family photo on bottom, Skylar, Eric, me, and Ethan at a local park. This was before baby Andrew was in the picture, but there's her with Zachariah and then their family. And just a few more. Left to right, Eric, Skylar, Gay, Phil, Ethan, and me on Skylar's adoption day. And then on bottom, baby Andrew, our second biological son, born on the anniversary of my own adoption day. Now we have 2 special reasons to celebrate that day each year. Little baby in a hat, so cute. And then I think this is the last one, very sad. Our foster daughter, Millie, had fallen asleep reading my first book. Almost a year and a half later, we learned she was returned to relatives she'd been removed from. Millie, age 9, was brutally murdered by her mentally ill uncle, who was also living in the home. So here's a sweet little girl, had fallen asleep reading her first book. And that's the end of the pictures, and therefore the end of 3 more words. I really hope that you enjoyed this. I hope maybe it inspired you to get involved, helping out in the foster care system in some way. I know it definitely does for me. I definitely have dreams someday of maybe becoming a guardian ad litem. I don't know if the future would hold me being a foster parent, but I think that's something that I could definitely make happen. And I love kids. I work with kids every day. If you know me personally, maybe you do, some people I know watch this channel, but I'm a nanny, so hearing these stories of these children that they're taking care of, I totally relate. Like, I'm helping raise kids myself, and they're not yours, and you have to leave at some points, and it's sad, but you love them anyway. And I just hope that every kid finds love, and I hope that you enjoy this. And again, join me next time for The Housemaid by Freida McFadden. I will see you for that next time. Bye, guys.